Grand Seiko came out with a beautiful chronograph last year at Watches and Wonders, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at it. That is the Grand Seiko Tentagraph. Thanks for joining the Worn and Wound channel. I'm your host, Kat Shoulders, and I'm joined today by Zach Kazan.
Hey Kat, how's it going?
Good. So you spent some time recently with the Grand Seiko Tentagraph.
Yes, I've had about 2 weeks with this watch. This is one of my favorite watches that we saw last year at Watches and Wonders. I finally got a chance to spend some more significant time with it over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
What are your initial impressions spending a couple of weeks with it versus when we saw it initially at the show last year?
My impressions are really the same as when I saw it last year. It's just interesting to kind of like filter that through a year of commentary on this watch following the show, because it was often discussed, and I think not always in the most positive terms necessarily because of its size, really like because of its size, and also some
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, some of the continuing sort of like concerns with Grand Seiko bracelets, which I personally don't really share.
Yeah.
So getting a chance to wear this watch regularly for 2 weeks just kind of solidified my initial impressions of it. That's a pretty special thing.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of chronographs kind of come in and out of your collection. Mm-hmm. How do you feel like this compares to those?
This watch is, I think, like about $12,000 or $13,000 or so, and it feels, like a premium chronograph that's comparable with other watches in that
same
in
price
that price point. I think
that makes sense.
It's a full titanium case and bracelet, so it wears incredibly well, very light, and you get that really great Grand Seiko finishing on the titanium.
Yeah, I think that was something last year that I noticed at the show when I got to take the watch and photograph it under some big lights. Was the dial is really spectacular, and the texture, which we all know Grand Seiko does very well. And it was so beautiful, and I hate that it didn't really get the coverage I felt like it kind of deserved. That's expected at a show when you have hundreds of watches coming out.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of hate towards this watch, and I think a lot of it was due to the thickness. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's fine. It's fine. My thoughts are relax. Everyone chill out. I think that Grand Seiko does everything very intentionally. My first Grand Seiko was it was a 44GS case Grand Seiko, and those cases are notably kind of thick. I eventually kind of determined that case wasn't really for me for a number of reasons, but the thickness never bothered me because it felt like it was part of the design of the watch. It's meant to kind of sit tall. It's meant to have this almost kind of like ornamental sort of feeling to it. The whole point is to show off those dramatic facets and everything, and you do that with case height. This watch is a really good example of how that kind of like works in Grand Seiko's
And I will say, like, with this watch specifically, there is sort of downward lugs of the case that I think really do hide the thickness once you do put it on the wrist. Grand Seiko's pretty well known for doing that, and I think, again, try not to always look at specs, try to get the watch on your wrist to really determine how the fit and feel truly is. Thoughts on the bracelet? I think this is something that people talk about a lot. I do see some micro adjust holes, which are always welcome. I'm wearing a watch right now that doesn't have it, and I wish it did. So I think they tried, right? We can say.
Yeah, there's a little bit of flexibility here in getting the watch dialed in for your wrist. It doesn't have on-the-fly micro adjust, which is a feature that people have been begging Grand Seiko for years and years. Here's what I'll say about that. Of course, everyone would like, in theory, to have that on-the-fly micro adjust to size the watch perfectly to your wrist on the go. Again, Grand Seiko does everything very intentionally, and I think they've made a calculation internally that in order to get the bracelet's weight and thickness that they want, a fold-over clasp without a micro adjust is the right move for this watch. Obviously, they're capable of making a micro adjustment mechanism if they wanted to. They're making a conscious decision not to for, who knows exactly what reason, but I would suspect it's because they're able to achieve something aesthetically with the bracelet without it that they don't think they could get with it. And I think that's a totally reasonable decision.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would be happy with that on my current watch that I'm wearing as well. Is there any other call outs or anything that stood out to you when you had the watch? I'm
a big fan of the dial. It's a Matawate texture dial, which is, I think, one of my favorite kind of like old school Grand Seiko dial textures. It's worth noting that the new Tentagraph movement certainly warrants more discussion, and you can find all of that in my full review on the website. Awesome. And if you like this review, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and let us know what Grand Seiko you'd like for us to take a look at next. Until next time, see you later.